After we've learned how to create button, text inputs, how to style views and texts, it's time to implement now and create our screen. In this lesson, we're gonna build those screens: the login screen, sign up screen, home screen. Now, let's start and work with those screens. But first, don't forget to download the assets file we have here: an avatar, a background image, some fonts to use it, some images, and social media icons. So don't forget to download that file from the link in the description below. Okay, and let's import this file. Let's create a file called src and add our assets file to that file. Okay, and let's create another folder called screens, and let's add a screen called login screen to tsx. Let's create a functional component. That's a basic functional component, and let's import it here in app.tsx. Let's remove this and remove this. Now we've rendered our login screen. First, let's add our image background, or let's style the container called styles.container. I wanna mention something. We can use a style sheet, this style sheet, inside of inline styling. For example, I can give him that container background color of red and Felix of 1. Look, I can copy those like this and put it here and just make a reference here to make it styles.container, and it will give me the same result. Okay, don't remove this red color and start working. Let's add our image background. Our image background take an image source equals to, it will be required. Let's copy our image background source. You're gonna, here, that's here. Just copy it, copy relative path, and put it here. Great, isn't it? It doesn't appear because we didn't give it some styling yet. Style equals to styles.image background. Let's add an image background styling, and those styling are gonna be, the height would be 100%. Okay, we will have some padding horizontal of 20 to make our center here of 20. Okay, let's remove that text. And let's add our image here. If we see that's this image, we want to put it here. And let's have a look on the iOS too. That's the iOS. It's great, isn't it? Now let's add the image. Now let's get the source of it. Its source we're gonna be require. We're gonna open the assets folder. Inside the assets folder, we're gonna open we want to render that image. Inside food folder, there is a file called food.png. So inside food food.png. Now we have here our image, but we have to give it some styling. Style. We can give it some height of 50, width of 90, Okay, if you notice that we have here some space because we give our image background padding horizontal of 20. Okay, let's make it its resize mode stretch. I want to make it here at the right, so we have to give it a position absolute and give his right of 20 and its top of 10, or let's make it 22. If we look here in Android, it looks perfect, but in iOS, we want to give it some spaces. So if we want to implement something in Android and it's different to iOS, we can use the platform module. We can import a platform from React Native, and let's go here. We want to make that top in Android only 20, but in iOS, let's make it 50. Let's have a look. Yes, 50 in iOS is good, but in Android is bad. So let's make this code. If platform.os equals to Android, just make it 20. Otherwise, make it 50. Now, if we look here, the both are perfect. In iOS, we've just we have 50 pixels of the top. In Android, we just have 20. Great, isn't it? Now let's add that text, Fatmori text. Let's copy it and create a text, Fatmori. Oh, we have here an error. Property text doesn't exist because we need to import it from React Native. Great, isn't it? Now we want to make that text inside here in that screen. So we have to center it using align items, center, to make it at the center of the screen. And I don't want to forget this. We here use inline objects to style that image. I want to use this style sheet. Just let's copy that code and add it styles dot, for example, food image. And let's go down here and type food image and copy our styles. There is no any difference. Something else, I want to format our code. If you want to format your code, just press Ctrl and A, select all of your code, and just press Command K and F or Control K and F, and your code is gonna be formatted. Now let's add a styling to this text. Let's call it styles.title. Let's give it a font size of 40, a color of white, margin top, let's make it 60. If we have a look in the iOS, we want to give it some more at the bottom, so we can use the platform in this case too. We have type platform.os equals to, if it equals to Android, just let them 60. But if otherwise, let's make it 110. Great, isn't it? Now we want to add a custom fonts. I've described before how to add custom fonts to React Native, and I'm gonna implement it right now. We have here inside our assets, there is a folder called fonts. We want to implement those fonts. All of we need, we just to add a file called React Native config.js, And inside that folder, you need to export that module, module.exports, project, iOS, an empty object, Android as empty object too. And here, let's add our assets and add array of our assets. We need to copy the path of those fonts. Those fonts inside src folder. src folder. Inside src folder, we find a folder called assets. Inside assets folder, we have a folder called fonts. And let's just type that code. npx react native asset. Okay, and press enter to link our fonts. I've described that. Oh, we have here an issue. Sorry, I faced some error. We have to make sure that the name of this, it's React Native like this, not React.native. Sorry for this mistake. Okay, let's make it and let's type that code. npx react native asset. And let's press enter. Now our fonts are linked correctly. If we want to implement them, we need to rerun our apps, Yarn Android and Yarn iOS. If we rerun our apps, we're gonna implement our fonts. Now let's give them that Fatmori text, or let's add a font file called font family. Let's add that font file. Let's select it here. Great, that font, isn't it? Now, after we've done with the text and how to add custom fonts, if you have any issues in adding a custom fonts, I have a video in the description. You just have to go and check it, and you're gonna learn how to add custom fonts. Now, let's add our this white view. Let's add it. Let's create a view under this text, and let's give it some styling. For example, style equals to styles dot inputs container. Inputs container. Inside inputs container, let's give it our height of 450 and width of 100% and background color of white. Now we have it here. Let's add some border radius. Let's add some border radius. And to make their thing in the center, let's add justify content to center and align items to center. To center all of the inside of it. And let's give it some margin top here. Margin top, for example, 30. Let's have a look on the iOS. Great, in the iOS and in the Android. Now let's add our input inside this screen. Our inputs and buttons. Let's first start to create our button. Inside our src folder, let's add a new folder called components, and let's add a file called mybutton.tsx, and let's create our button here. If you want to learn more how to create buttons in React Native, I have created a video and uploaded, and its link in the description, how to create a button. And I recommend you to watch all the playlists before you go here, because I have described a lot of things, how to create many React components like buttons, texts, how to add custom fonts, and so on. Now let's create our button here. We have a view, or let's make a touchable opacity. Inside our touchable opacity, let's add a text, and let's give it a property called title. Let's import it here in the login screen. Let's close this and close this. And let's import our button here. Let's give him a title of login. Let's have some styling. Style equals to styles.container. Let's give him a height of 50 and width of 100%. Let's justify and align items to center. Let's give him a background color, that hex color, FF0036. Let's give it some border radius. Let's make it, for example, 30. 30, great, isn't it? Now let's go to this white container, this white view, and give it some padding horizontal of 20, for example, to make it the button like this. Let's add some styling to that button text, button title, styles.title. Let's add his color, let's make it white. Oops. Font size of 20. And font family, let's choose any font that we want or that you want. That's our fonts. Let's select that. Great, isn't it? Now let's go and add our inputs. We need here to add some inputs. That's input, enter email, and enter password. So let's add those both inputs before our button, our login button. So let's create that component. My text input.tsx. Before we go, we need to handle that TypeScript. So let's create an interface, props. Let's add a title. Our title is a string. FC. I don't want you to get confused. It's just a TypeScript issues or TypeScript things that we have to do. Now let's create our input component, RNFES, to create a functional component. And let's add it. Let's give that view a style of styles.container. Let's give him a height of 50, width of 100%. Let's adding some padding horizontal of 10. Now let's import that our text input. We didn't end it yet, but let's import it to see what's happening. Okay. Now let's import inside it a text input component. Let's give him a styling, styles dot text, or let's make it input. And let's give him a width of 100% and a height of 50. Let's add his props. Or I don't want to get you confused, but these props I'm using here to pass all the other props like text align or any secure text entry. Other props allow us to use our other props inside any screen or inside any component that we want. So let's leave it like this. Now here we can use a placeholder and placeholder, and let's make it the text. We need to add here. We need to add here a border. Styles.border. Let's add some styling to that border. Let's make its width of 100%. Let's make background color of gray. Let's have a height of 1 and align self of center. Let's give our text input a margin pattern of 20 to make it like this. Or let's have a look at our image. Let's make it, yes, I guess that's better. Let's have another text input for our password. If you look here, we can type here what we want and we can see it, but here it's the password, we can see it too. We don't want to see it, so we have to add a property called secure text entry. Let's add a property called secure text entry to make it like this. Now if you see, we can't see our what we've typed in this text input. Now it's time to add that text. Don't have an account yet. Let's add it here. And let's give him some styling. We want to make it go to the end. Align self, Felix end. We want to give him some margin right here. Let's make his color is black. Great, isn't it? Here in iOS and here in Android. Now it's the time to create our social media component. We're gonna create a social media component because we're gonna use it inside the login screen and the sign up screen. Okay, first let's give that text some margin button. Margin button of 20, for example, or let's make it 15. And now let's go to our components and create social media.tsx RNFES to create a functional component. And let's import it in the login screen. Here, inside this view, social media component. Now, first, we have to add our 3 images. Source is gonna be require. Let's go to assets folder, social media icons folder, and let's pick our image's name. We have Facebook, Google, Twitter. Facebook.png. We have another image called Twitter and another image called Google. Oops, I think it's Google with a small letter. Now let's give them the 3 style. Styles.image. Let's give it a height of, for example, 80 and width of 80. Or let's make it 50. 60. Yes? Let's give the Twitter and the Google the same styling. Let's give that view style, Felix, direction, row, styles.container, container, Felix direction of row, space between, width 100%, or let's make it space evenly. To make it like this, let's give our image borders or resize mode. Oops, I think that component should be inside the white view. Like this. Yes, like this. Let's remove that stretch. And let's give him align items to make it at the same center, at the same line, I guess. I think we should give them 40, but the Twitter icon, we should give it 60. That's the Twitter. Let's give it height of 60 and width of 60. أيوة يا مام. أيوة جايلك أهو. ماشي. You can use this technique to use inline object with style sheet styling at the same time. Just open an array and add your object of style inside that array. Let's add margin top of 15. Let's separate the Twitter icon. Let's make it Twitter icon and give them those styling. And let's make it styles.Twitter icon. Let's remove that array. Okay, that's it. Now let's add the or text we have here. An or text, let's add it in that social media. Or let's add it at the top here. Text. Or let's give him some styling. Styles.or text. Let's give him a font size of 20 and color of gray. Let's give him margin top of 20. Let's add to him a font family. Let's use, let's pick one, let's pick that one. Now, here in the Android and here in the iOS. Now we have done with, oops, we forgot to give that text a font family. Let's add a font family to that. To that don't have text. Let's open login screen, that text, yes. Let's add him font family. Let's pick someone. Let's use that. Not bad. Now we've done with our first screen here in Android and here in the iOS. Let's go and create the register screen. We have here an email and password and confirming the password and that button and those three icons. Now let's create in our screens, let's create sign up screen.tsx. Let's take a copy of login screen. Let's import it first in app.tsx. Let's take a copy of sign-in screen and make some changes. Yes, that's login screen. Let's copy it and go in sign up screen. And let's change this login screen to sign up screen. Let's change it at the bottom too. Okay, let's change that login and make it sign up. Yes, let's remove that text, don't have account. And let's add a new password input and rename, make its placeholder confirm password. Great, isn't it? Now, if we have a look here at that image, yes, pretty good. If you didn't understand anything of what I have described in this lesson, you just go back and check the playlist of React Native UI components to how to create a button, an input, and images, how to handle view styling, and so on. And see you in other videos. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel because I have a lot of videos that are gonna be very useful for you if you want to learn React or React Native or Node.js or even JavaScript. And thanks for your watching.